Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the Nordic Championship 2019 summer season. We're here from the Monster Energy DreamHack studio to bring you an action-packed month of Nordic League of Legends. My name's Lance Bernard, joined today by co-caster none other than...
Thank you so much for that introduction. It's really great to be back, and I'm looking forward to today's games, as I believe it will be an action-packed start.
Absolutely. We got a lot of familiar faces here, a lot of familiar teams showing repeat performances since the previous season. Guide us through it.
Yeah, absolutely. So let's have a look at the schedule for today, where Ventus Esports and the Final Tribe will be the first team to face off in game one in a best of three, if I'm not mistaken, and then followed up by Copenhagen Flames versus Celestial Gaming. So another team that we have seen quite a lot is Celestial Gaming, that is back again with almost the same roster as last time.
Yes, for sure. And it's going to be super fun to watch Ventus Esports versus the Final Tribe in just a couple of minutes here. The Danish previous winners of Nordic Championship and the Danish first seed going up against the Swedish number one in the Final Tribe. Ventus, as you know, won the Nordic Championship last season and went on to EU Masters, finished second in their group, and then lost to Fnatic Rising in the quarters. They've since replaced all of their members, but had an amazing showing in the finals, and they're looking as some solid favorites for the tournament. Sang, how do you think this team shapes up compared to the previous iteration of Ventus Esports?
I think this version of Ventus Esports has a lot of focus on the mid lane and the jungle synergy, so I'm looking forward to see that, especially with this patch that we're on. I'm really looking forward to see Godbro again back in this tournament. Last time we saw him, I believe last time I saw him play in a Nordic tournament was in Ragnarok 2017, 16, I believe. So it's been quite a long time since. But let's have a look at the picks, and rather the bracket, shall we?
Yes, we have as you guys know, no teams have played any matches so far, so all of them will be at 0-0-0 standing. But
it's very
there
even
are
so
plenty
far.
of familiar. Yeah, very even. Might have to play a few tiebreakers, lads.
But yeah, absolutely. We'll have to play quite a few.
Yes, we do have two representatives from each region. Final Tribe and Falcon coming in from Sweden, Denmark's Ventus and Flames, Nordic and Celestial repeat showings from Norway. As for Finland, Nordic does not have a place on today's Nordic Championship. Instead, we see MJ Esports and Neon Esports, with Iceland's FH Esports and Dusty coming in from that scene.
I have to say, though, that Neon Esports has quite a few, I think has two of the players from Nordic White.
Yeah, right.
So still a strong roster coming up from Finland, although it's not the same organization.
Plenty of experience on these players overall. Absolutely, there have been, as we said, a couple of roster swaps, players switching teams and everything. I believe we're heading into Champ Select. Right.
Yes,
now.
Indeed we are. So let's have a look at the picks and bans. Take us through it, please, last but not.
So far, we don't have any lock-ins just yet, but Ventus Esports have a reputation of being very creative. I don't think we're going to see Kiana in the first round. That is the Kiana removed immediately, and the Final Tribe has some priorities of their own, wanting to free up some space for their bot lane that had an amazing showing in the SEL finals. And the aggressiveness of Abraxi in the jungle could prompt an early jungle lock-in. But so far, we do have the Kiana and Irelia removed away from the Final Tribe, as well as Lux removed from Ventus. Lux has seen a resurgence in popularity with that Aftershock and Shield Max, and Junior obviously a power pick. Also, Aatrox has shown a lot of top lane priority there. Also, several of the Nordic champion teams have heavily favored this pick. So we are most likely looking at some sort of neutral lock-in, a flex pick, maybe mid bot top. These teams play a lot of Karma. We could potentially see something like this. But we're gonna have to see. Yeah, that is that Karma hover. What do you think that the Final Tribe will answer with?
Well, right now it's a big question. I really like the karma call you made right there for the flex pick, but looking now at TFT, I expect them to go with something quite aggressive. We'll see as Waysor and Raxi has that synergy for the top lane. Big question is, are they going to go for the early picks with this? Indeed, you see the Jarvan hover right now. We'll see if it's going to be a strong synergy pick they're going to go for, or if they're going to go a little bit more passive at the start. It's the Saya.
Yeah, the Jarvan plays straight into Raxi's style as we talked about earlier, and the Xayah pairs up quite nicely. Sort of forces Karma to think twice. How does she really want to push into this aggressive laner that is the Xayah? You could also try to deny a Rakan if you want that pairing for the final tribe, and don't want them to get that. Instead, we see a jungle lock-in with Godbro looking to have the final pick of the first phase. Looking to be that Kaiser. It's a fairly decent matchup, but I do believe Kaiser loses priority early on, right?
I think she does, honestly, not quite sure. Well, definitely now versus the Saya
Mm-hmm.
and Rakan. So absolutely a strong bot lane pick from TFT. No surprise at all with Kreisberg and Collide down on the bottom side. But for me right now, I'm most interested in the mid lane pick for Ventus Esports and how that will be responded from TFT. Of course, obviously, we're going to see the bans first. The Nautilus ban now for the bottom lane. Do not want to have that versus see Rakan.
No, absolutely not. And the point that you make about Ventus's mid lane pick, how do you even prepare for
This
Ventus's shenanigans?
I have to say that this is a little bit surprising to me to see the Cassiopeia ban from Ventus side. As I know that Godbro is really strong on his Cassiopeia and has been using it to gain a lot of power in the mid lane in the one versus one. So I think that's a little bit of a respect ban versus Royal Cannon and Godbro, knowing that he can't simply run over this little rabbit in the mid lane.
For sure. And Cassio, with her oppressiveness, sort of makes it so that a lot of the picks that you might be considering becomes way less viable with that miasma covering pretty much the entire width of the mid lane, making it difficult for you to trade up, especially with the Jarvan Cassiopeia synergy. Put the Cataclysm down, get the flag and drag, and with the miasma on top of that, you remove the flash away potential. And there's the Nico lock in here. Could be top lane with either on hit or glacial. Could be mid lane with glacial also. I'm loving the flexes so far.
Yeah, absolutely. Since you don't know where Karma is going. So it's really strong to just go with a Nico and have your own flex pick at the same time. But we are going to find out right now. It's Reason and Fiddle are going for the picks. And oh, another Godbro favorite. It's the Corky for them.
So that pretty much solidifies Karma as a top lane lock-in then. Karma does quite decently into the Nico. You can speed yourself up, dodge out on the route, and try to push the Nico in, or at least answer the push of the blossoming Q strike there, and answer some of the pushing priority there, and free up the top side of the map for your aggressive jungler here. The Braum is also a fairly safe, fairly standard pick. Doesn't really show much flavor, but trying to get the Kaiser through the bottom lane and be a powerhouse later on. Especially the double ADC synergizes very well with the Braum passive. Final lock-in is gonna be that Mordekaiser. Man, I love seeing Mordekaiser though. It's so weird watching it. However, when he banishes someone to the Shadow Realm, and you get that 1v1 on top of a massive team fight, but it's always fun.
It's
Things
going to
you
make it fun for you to play by play that part
yeah,
and try
man.
to keep track of Mordekaiser and like whoever he like banishes together with him, if it's the Kaiser, if it's the Corki, and focus on the same at the same time on the rest of the team fight. But I do agree it's fun to see Mordekaiser, especially since in my head Mordekaiser is still not a strong champion. I know he definitely is a strong champion after the remake, but in my head I still just cannot see Mordekaiser as a viable pick. It's mental for me.
Oh, since the changes, he has become an entirely different beast, showing extreme priority A lot in the Danish scene, actually. Copenhagen Flames also played this pick a lot together with Ventus. So these players are hopefully very well practiced on this one, and it might come to be a contested champion for this tournament. We're gonna have to see, because these early matches, right? They sort of set the tone for the early stages of the event, and as the in-event meta starts to form, we'll see the answer that people come up with. And we are heading straight into the game, and instantly get a
Oh, I
point.
see. So the players are writing right now. So we have a little bit of information. It's a rune bug. So we're going to have a remake quick with the same picks, obviously. So this should only take like a minute. These things happen, sadly, but it should be a quick one.
Yeah, as you said, technical things do happen. Room bugs are not something that you want to deal with if you're going to play a competitive game for quite high stakes. Remember, this is the top seed from the Swedish scene, going up against Ventus with who's obviously representing the Danish scene as number one. Playing an entire first game with the wrong runes, no way. You want to sort that out immediately.
Yeah, that would be absolutely terrible. Also, with a 200,000 Swedish kroner prize pool, I don't think that you want to have anything that can throw you off your usual game.
For sure. If you can avoid handicapping yourself, you absolutely will. But we are heading into the lobby again, so don't worry, ladies and gentlemen. We'll be heading into the match in just a few. We'll remake the champ select, and we can talk a little bit about how it's going to play out in the different lanes and matchups that we see. I wanna look a little bit at the jungle matchup actually. That Jarvan versus Sejuani duo. I feel like they both have the room to have a lot of early game impact. Where do you think, if the junglers choose to influence a lane, where do you think they should focus and favor, looking at the strengths of the individual players?
Well, I really feel like we have a volatile situation up top lane where either of these two players, if they get the upper hand, can run away with it. I think Mordekaiser has that strong all-in, but
Oh yeah,
Karma can just
absolutely.
kite
Very,
forever and be
very
very
strong.
annoying.
As for the top side, though, just looking at the matchup of Mordekaiser Karma, it's difficult to make something happen against the Karma. Mordekaiser, however, is extremely susceptible early on to early game influence. So if we see some focus up there by Mark Kuhn with that Risen's Karma assistance, there's some setup there. The question is, do they have the damage to get through all of Mordekaiser's sustain? But
Well,
we're
that's
gonna
that's
have
the
to
thing
see, and
I'm
just
not
how
quite
well the
sure
junglers
about.
also read each other and match up to answer the calls of their opponents. As for mid side, most likely just going to be a farm matchup. But the Xayah Rakan, you always have to pay attention to a Xayah Rakan lane. But I don't know, man. Going up against a Braum lane, I'm not too sure how much solo impact the TFT bot lane will have. Do you think they're good enough to pull something off against Ventus here?
Oh, sorry, hold on. We just had a little bit of a technical situation right here. So we're just going to fix that. And please repeat that question. All right, so we're fixing this right now. And last minute, I believe that you need to swap position. Okay, so we'll see what's happening right here. I'm trying to get some information, but we're working on it right now, and there we go. So the game is about to start yet again with the same picks. I realized that it was on Ventus Esports side where Fiddle and Risen had some trouble with their runes. Should be fixed now. So we are ready to go again. And I'm wondering, is Lanspinot with me right now? Okay, so it seems like something has happened to Lance Minot's internet or microphone. Not quite sure right now what is going on, and I am going to find out. But as we are back in Champions League again, there are no surprises here. We will see the exact same thing, and we will be on Summoner's Rift in just a minute.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, we're back again after a short break. We're all here. We're all standing. We're all alive and awake, and we got a super fun match straight ahead of us. Pick and ban did have to be remade, but it's going to be the same picks, it's going to be the same bans, and hopefully the only thing that's changed is the wrong runes that we had in the previous lobby. But hopefully we should be fine now.
I'm checking the runes right now, and it looks like it's like how it's supposed to be. So I hope that there were no mishaps this time around.
Yeah, for sure. One thing that's striking me is the Corky Kleptomancy, looking to just farm up onto this Nico. How often do you really think the Corky will be able to auto attack a Nico?
Well, it's a god bro in the mid lane, so I think he will be able to pull it off. But yes, I think it's a little bit greedy. Could definitely be dangerous. So anytime that you need to stop to auto attack, you're susceptible to the Nico snare. And we have another pause. Let's see. This time it shouldn't be a rune situation. No, it's a lagging top lane. As Risen has a little bit of lag, and we'll see if he can sort it out or what will happen. This is always an issue at the early stages of a tournament when you're playing from home. But yes, now it should be fixed.
Yeah, absolutely. Since the players are not playing in the studio with us, there are sometimes a little bit of technical difficulties for them individually. But we seem to be fine right now. Some early game ward coverage here from TFT, but it isn't cleared up by Ventus. So they dissuade any early shenanigans in the top side of the map here. But watch bot side, watch Raxi, flags drop the Ventus support. Fiddle takes a flag to the face, but it's seemingly fine.
Yeah, just a little bit of a scouting right there, dropping the ward and trying to find out where Marcoon wants to start, as Raxi was spotted up top lane. He's now rotating around. I think that was to throw a little bit of a curveball to kind of make them think that Raxi started at his blue buff. We'll see. So we have both junglers starting up top side.
Yes, and we will have to pay attention to how intense of a first clear these junglers have. But as it seems right now, they are both standing top side, as you said. So we could potentially see some early action down bot or even mid lane if Royal Cannon wants to go for some glacial snares down there. Some early fights down bot though.
Yeah, Fiddle taking 2 auto attacks, or getting 2 auto attacks off on Collide. His Guardian is going to block most of that AoE damage, so it's looking good. So for both him and Reason.
Yeah, for sure. Some early trades going on. They're sort of testing the waters a little bit, seeing what they can get away with, and pushing up pretty much as far as the matchup allows them to. And that means since the players are down there playing like this, especially here in the bot lane, while mid lane is being pushed in into Gobbro Summit, it means that early jungle influence might play an extremely big deal here. Watch the positioning of Markoon and Raxi as the bot lane duos are continuing to love tap each other over and over again. The love isn't only between Xayah and Rakan today, they're tapping even the opponents right here. As for top, Risen is pushing in as expected. Watch Markoon. Here he comes. Can he get the positioning onto Krisberg and Collide, however? Questionable. If Fiddle lands a decent Bronc Q, gets the auto attack on the Q. Not flash forward comes in, but nothing lands. But they're under tower, rooted. Markoon's rooted down under, and that's actually going to be the first blood from Krisberg on the return. And they're not settled for that. Royal Canyon lands the root onto Fiddle. This should surely be at least 2 kills going over to TFT. And there is that kill going over to Collide. Flash forward by Raxi, and the return is there. What started off as an early aggression by Markoon transitions into the final tribe getting an early lead.
Huge mid lane difference right there, as Royal Cannon was able to teleport down bot lane and has been having a strong lane versus Godbro Sama, allowing him to do that as well. So as he arrives together with that failed tower dive, those were 3 kills that were basically donated right over into the hands of TFT.
Exactly, that point that you made, the mid lane difference, right? Here in that trade, you see just how much it matters to have early game lane priority. It opens up the movement that you're allowed to make, and the fact that Royal Cannon, TFT mid laner, moves down so early and synergizes with the bot lane, Krisberg Collide, to completely counter Markoon's movements is spectacular, and it all comes off from that lane priority mid.
Yeah, absolutely. And with this, the bot lane is so ahead right now, so it's going to be a difficult situation, I believe, now for Ventus Esports down bot lane.
Yeah, absolutely, and that has a further impact on the coming minutes, because the first dragon to spawn is that Infernal. Spawns at the 5-minute mark. So with an early advantage for Krisberg and Collide, if you can transition that into an early Infernal, you're setting yourself up for a fantastic early mid-game, especially with the triple carry that you're running with Raxi and Wazor with damage carries in the top and jungle positions. So ward coverage around Dragon is likely what we are expecting soon, but watch Markoon. Let's try number 2. Can they pull it off? No, they're not gonna commit for it. The wards are there, and Krisberg and Collide are knowledgeable, and they pay enough attention to see it coming.
Yeah, absolutely. But Markoon is really loving that bot lane.
Meanwhile,
no surprise there in the mid lane.
Yeah, the root landed onto Godbro, and Raxi tried to get the flag and drag, but couldn't quite manage. Godbro dashed away just in time to save himself from harm's way, and is seemingly fine just now.
Yeah, absolutely. I think he got knocked up, but he was able to use Valkyrie just in time to get far enough under the turret to make it impossible for Cannon and Raxi to completely go for it. Now bot lane.
Bot lane. Some more action comes in. Oh, the poke, the
Oh!
feathers. Chrisberg with the second kill of the game secured for the Xayah. Beautiful. Has just enough damage to secure that one. Massive advantage down bot. Means a turret plate is the next focus. Watch Marcoon once again. This man is relentless in the pressure that he attempts to put down. The failed attempt top, or the failed attempt bot lane early on, who cares? Just try again.
Now it's a fight top lane. Risen versus Vaser. Risen is kiting this back and forth. Vaser, though, just staying barely outside of the range of the turret.
Yeah, the Shadow Realm was summoned and Risen was banished, but he said, nope, I'm fine. That's just the thing with Mordekaiser, right? If you have the durability to survive him, or if you even have the damage to kill him off, ulting the target isn't necessarily going to do much for you, especially if you play around right in front of the enemy turret. Actually, that's a neat little thing that you can do. Turrets are still there if you wait. Meanwhile, hold that thought, Lance me not. A fight in the river topside. Stun lands onto Roxy. Marcoon's gonna chase over the wall here. Does not get the interrupt. He tried to get the flag and interrupt, but couldn't quite manage. Wazer is at a very dangerous amount of health there. Do you think a tower dive is gonna come in with Marcoon? He's starting to move topside. I don't know.
Not quite sure, actually. Marcoon is looking for his level 6. He could be trying for a turret dive, knowing that Wazer doesn't have his ultimate just yet. But Roxy is still around. He has his smite available, so he should be able to get a little bit of HP back. Actually recalling right now, so not expecting a tower dive top lane. And I think Wazer should be able to handle it. There's not that much damage coming out from a Karma, and especially now since Risen is taking quite a bit of damage.
Yeah, absolutely. But that Karma root is enough to dissuade any more action coming in from Wazer. But that's a beautiful route there, or the beautiful the drag in under turret. If you can manage to pull that off, and they have enough of a low enough HP to maybe force a flash or something, that's a huge advantage that you have to, or that you can get up topside. Especially if you force the teleports for them to get back to lane, or if they decide to walk, they're going to lose out on the minion gold and experience, because obviously these teams are looking towards that Infernal Dragon. Watch Roxy. He's seemingly starting it appears. Maybe clearing out some wards there. And it's covering bot side.
I don't think he wants to start it just yet. Instead, now focusing on the turret platings, just focusing on keeping his bot lane safe and having the vision control for the bot lane. I mean, at this point, they don't really need to take this dragon. It's always good to get if it's for free, but since it's
knock-up lands on Desire, hold that thought. Big engage from Collide. The follow-up is there. One kill goes down. Reason is dead. It only takes a couple of seconds. This should absolutely be a dragon.
Yeah, here it comes, the free dragon. You can see Chrisberg still sticking around bot lane, wants to have the solo gold from the platings. Marcoon is maybe rotating around to stop it, and here comes Chrisberg. Now coming up to the dragon instead. It's going to secure this quickly.
For sure. Even Wazer walking down just in case Ventus tries to pull off anything weird and adventurous. But that is that Infernal Dragon going over to the final tribe early on. And an early lead for the Swedish team. Looking for revenge for the last season of Nordic. So you talked a little bit about this earlier. There's some grudge between these two teams.
Yeah, absolutely. So these two teams, Ventus Esports was in the #1 spot for the spring split for the longest time. I believe they were #1 like halfway into the tournament and stayed up there, but the TFT were always just behind them, and in the end they ended it. They ended the play-ins at a 2nd spot, I believe, but in the playoffs they came in 4th place. So I think they're really looking to prove themselves. They were so strong for a long time, almost had a 4-way tiebreak in the group stage. So really looking like a team that wants to redeem themselves.
For sure, another fight up top. Meanwhile, watch the top lane river here. Risen is banished to the Shadow Realm once again. I don't think he can survive it this time. Flash forward, but here comes the team. Marcoon with the Sejuani ultimate. It's right on to the face of Wazer, and instead, Raxi comes in the nick of time. Wazer survives, and Godbro finds himself in that Cataclysm, goes down, 2 more kills going over for the final tribe. Ults from Royal Canyon is not going to secure the kill onto Marcoon, but the 2-4-0 is still a massive, massive advantage, and they're pinging that Rift Herald as plates are going down bot lane. Advantages across the board. The final tribe are looking strong, man.
Absolutely. Final Tribe being an absolute monstrous team. 7-0. Up 3k gold, so definitely what they haven't been able to do with this lead, though, is they haven't been able to secure that many turret platings. So their gold lead could actually be stronger right now. Getting the Rift Herald, though, is really good for them to make sure that they are going to be able to get that first tower blood. Shut down to Risen, though.
Yeah, that's a big one with kill gold going over to the Ventus top laner. It's a big cash in. It's gonna help in this Mordekaiser lane. As you saw, the last time they 1v1, the Wazer came out on top. And you don't want that happening. You want to have the Karma at just enough strength to be able to handle the Mordekaiser and provide that utility in the mid and late stages of the game for the rest of the team. But as you said, the bot line pressure is huge, man. We're most likely going to see a first tower attempt anytime soon. But Marcoon, once again, he keeps on hovering bot side. Watch him. He's definitely looking for a response. However, there's nowhere to be seen.
I'm not quite sure about this decision, though, as Risen has gotten the extra gold up top lane. They were able to bait Wazer earlier. Were almost able to get the kill on him as well for that fight. So he's playing, he's now playing without a flash as well. And I'm expecting to see Raxi up there with the Rift Herald fairly soon. So I would like to see Marcoon try to focus his top lane just a little bit more and set up with Wazer being so aggressive. They might be able to do a roam together with Godbro as well with the passive on Corki. Because the bot lane, I don't think they're going to be able to do that much about the bot lane.
Yeah, absolutely. Meanwhile, as the bot lane turret goes down, there's a solo kill going on up top. Risen is running for his life, trying to escape this murderous metal juggernaut, but can't manage. And that's finally the solo kill for Wazer. Meanwhile, Root lands in the mid lane. Godbro gets knocked out by Razi, and that's the Cataclysm. The final order comes in. Sejuani ultimate is right on point once again, but here's the Nico ultimate to respond on that Root. But Marcoon with the red buff running, I believe. Gets the return kill. Stopwatch forced by Royal Canyon, but it's not going to be enough. Actually flashes away. Beautiful escape there.
Absolutely amazing play by Royal Canyon there. They're not expecting to be able to get out of that situation, even going golden. I expected him to die. Still, that was a good play by Marcoon, able to get quite a bit of gold back, although they're still quite far behind going into this mid-game.
Yes, there's a 4,500 gold lead, which is substantial. It's pre-15 minutes, so obviously the earlier in the game you are, the more a gold lead is going to matter compared to later on as the items come in anyway. And how are they going to use this gold lead? They do appear to be grouping around the top side, getting that push priority in so they can transition into Dragon. I believe that's the second Inferno. So if they manage to secure that, the snowball will be in full roll. It's turning giant.
Absolutely, big fight now.
Yes, doesn't quite manage to follow up on that pull-in by Wazer, however. Marcoon is looking for it though. Chrisberg does not find the route and disengages across the board. Ventus are trying to push for that mid-turret, but meanwhile, Raxi is actually on the dragon. So the entirety of the final tribe is playing a distraction, and Raxi is straight up 1v1ing the dragon. He should be able to secure that one, as Ventus cannot get anything in response to that. Some huge damage coming from Risen, but there's really nothing that they have to get in response from that. Herald spawned also. This should be the mid lane turret. Man, the final tribe, they're coming in swinging. They're looking for these objectives. They're relentless in their pursuit.
Final Tribe now getting quite a bit of damage off on the mid lane turret. Looks like there's a fight going to be a response, not going to be able to finish that turret off. I believe it was quite a late Shelly to be used since they got her like, I think 2-3 minutes ago, something like that. And just now using her, there's no way they're gonna get as much of a gold advantage from that as if they had used it when there still were turret plates up. So not quite sure about holding on to Shelly for that long.
Yeah, that's a very good point. You have to take into consideration that the turret plates, they do fall at 14 minutes, and the Shelly, as you say, Rift Herald, is a fantastic tool to secure that. And as all of this action is going on, as all these back and forths are happening, Godbro is doing his own thing up top, just split pushing, got a fair amount of push and wave building going. He even secures that side lane turret, so 1 for 1 inside turrets now, and a little bit of lull in the action as we reset for the next point of focus.
So here's the thing, that Godbro had to go for a Hex Drinker in his matchup in mid lane, which delays his Trinity Force, obviously. And Ventus Esports now with the really good rotation towards mid lane when the Dragon was up for grabs, kind of just saying that we're not going to fight too much right now, we're waiting for our own spikes, and they're just holding on to this. You can see that Risen is now has got his Storm Racer, is going for the Winslow's Rage Blade. When he has gotten that, when Godbro-sama has his Trinity Force, I'm expecting to see a whole different kind of situation, but here comes the fight.
Massive engage comes in, but it doesn't really hit anyone. Collide with that grand entrance, and Quixness does not find anything, and the Sejuani ult by Marcoon completely whiffs. It's a nice zoning tool with the slow, but it can't find the target that he has been doing so well up until this point.
Absolutely.
I do think that the Final Tribe are doing a little bit of a poor job focusing side lanes up until now. They're just now sending their Nico, the Royal Cannon, up top, who's a fantastic split pusher, by the way, with that on hit.
So Royal Cannon was able to get that top turret. Godbro, though, just not able to save the turret. Still, he's just going to keep farming. And this is something that he does quite well on this Corki. You're expecting Godbro to be this super aggressive player, but on his Corki, he's just looking to be able to get the farm, get his core item. He now has Trinity Force, and now you see him being much more aggressive. Now you see him poking a lot more than he did before.
Yeah, the item power specs are starting to come in. Oh, big engage by Collide. Finally finds it. Fiddle goes down. But it's Collide that picks it up. Godbro with the TP finds himself in the middle of the fray and dies for the second kill of the fight before the Final Tribe. Quick 2 for 0. Donated, as you would say. And that opens up a mid lane siege onto the inner turret. This is looking dangerous for Ventus.
Absolutely. Just as I was kind of impressed by Ventus playing this slowly and carefully, just meticulously getting those last hits and getting the core items, you see that big misstep by Fiddle, getting caught in the middle. You see Godbro kind of expecting Fiddle to be able to survive just a little bit longer, trying to teleport in, and instead just donating himself to the enemy team. So big misplay there by Ventus, a strong engage yet again from TFT, but being in the situation that TFT is in, they have this huge lead, and they can just continuously engage with the quickness, with Collide, having that safe escape for him to Kreisberg, and just keep doing this. They don't really risk anything when they're going for these engages, and you're just waiting for these mistakes instead.
And you have to ask yourself then, because the Final Tribe, they locked in the Xayah early on. They locked in Xayah and Jarvan, and there was the possibility to steal away the Rakan. And here you see the consequences of not doing that. Exactly the point that you're talking about. Collide has the freedom to go for these engages, and with the increased range of the shield dash onto Xayah, the safety is always there, and it's very oppressive to always have to take into consideration these massive engage ranges and the safety that he can play around. And we're seeing that he's abusing this over and over again. Yeah, last time, or the time before this, he didn't quite manage to find any priority targets, but when he does, it's disastrous. Engaged by Roxy, quickness comes in, and there it is.
Huge quickness yet again on Fiddle.
It doesn't. They don't seem to be finding anything, but Phil gets banished to the Shadow Realm. And there it is. He goes down. First kill of the fight. Marcoon's now locked in the Cataclysm. Stopwatch forced, but surely he dies. Grisberg now on a rampage for him. Look at these auto attacks. The crits are huge with that Infinity Edge. And the Dragon is focused meanwhile as two players from the Final Tribe zoned off the remaining Ventuses. And Garber's just going side lane. He's realizing that, well, this isn't working out, is it? As he try to switch the focus and catch that top wave, but watch the movements of the Final Tribe. They're looking at Baron. Do you think they can pull it off?
Yeah, I think at least they can turn if it goes a little bit too long, but with that Mountain Dragon definitely having the damage to take this quickly. See if Garberosama is able to respond quickly enough. See him getting a lot of damage off the glide, but Baron still goes down in the end, and not really anything that a solo player can do. Might be able to do something with this now, and Raxi goes in for some reason.
Yeah, Raxi tries to look for something. The Brawl comes in, flashes aplenty. He's straight up dead. He almost applies enough damage to take down Risen, but the majority of the Final Tribe members will be able to disengage. I think perhaps he was just buying an escape for his teammates.
Yeah, absolutely.
Because you did see some interest.
That was just Raxi wanting to buy his team at the time to escape from most of them to get away with the Baron buff. I'm not quite sure if he actually needed to do it, or if he kind of like made that hero sacrifice. The rest of the team are like, no, it's fine, we're all out. And he's like, oh, and then tries to run away on his own. I'm not quite sure actually, but in the end, that's a Baron buff. That's the Baron gold and Baron buff on 4 of your team members. And having the Baron buff on your jungler isn't the top priority when you have a Mordekaiser that's way ahead of the opponent's Karma and is just able to push that top lane.
Yeah, you can pull off a healthy 1-3-1 kind of split push with a roaming Jarvan that sort of is wherever he's needed without the Baron buff on the Jarvan himself. Absolutely. Here goes triple knockup. Quickness, Grand Entrance comes in. It's a triple knockup again. And there is a massive AoE damage. Double kill for Collide now. And 2 more kills come in. 1 for Raxi or 1 for Krisberg. Only Godbro alive. Surely this should be the ace with that Glacial Augment Twin Shadow Spooky Ghost scaring Godbro away from any sort of response. The big ult comes in and there's the ace for the Final Tribe. Sweden's looking amazing in this first game. They're sieging on multiple fronts. Got a big wave mid lane, already sieging the top side. Surely this is at least a top lane inhib.
Yeah, absolutely. Top lane and mid lane inhib, I'm quite sure they're up 13k gold. They're so far ahead in levels and the items. So these are 2 inhibitors going down. Might even be another fight if they're feeling cheeky, but TFT are going to play this safely and back out instead. And they've been doing this, playing this flawlessly. Basically, TFT are just waiting for any kind of overextend on anyone on Ventus Esports team, especially Phil has been the one that's been caught out. It's so difficult to play a Braum and try to sort of be a frontline when you're this far behind. And it's just been, yeah, we see what's happening, right? They're trying to go for that Mountain Dragon, and that's the point where it all went downhill. That's when it kind of became the complete game in the complete hands of TFT. And now TFT can decide whatever they want to do, and it's up to them if they're going to win this or not. Only a huge mistake from the Final Tribe will be able to put Ventus Esports back into a situation where they might survive this game long enough to make something happen.
Yeah, it's looking rough for sure. And the tankiness of this Braum, the poor guy, apart from Eye of the Aspect, he's sitting on Kindle Gem Cloth Armor. He's not going to survive at all. A bit of a pick attempt coming in onto Risen, but he's not going to go down. And as you say, TFT, they're just so far ahead now. And even looking back at that Jarvan sacrifice, they can afford to make these plays because they are so far ahead. 13k gold at 25 minutes is massive. You're racking up 500 gold lead per minute. That's astronomical, and it's going to take nothing short of a miracle for Ventus to pull this one back. All TFT
Godbro is caught.
Big engage once again. The Cataclysm and Rakan combination. Once again, over and over again, they're just rinsing, repeating, and pulling it off over and over. And 3 quick kills for for TFT in a matter of seconds. And here it is, the Nexus turrets are going down. TFT are pulling off a statement game on the first day of 2019 Summer Season Nordic Championship. They take down Ventus Esports and bring us to match points.
GGVP is called as Ventus Esports, end that game with about 16k of a goal lead. So
yeah, an absolute statement you have to see coming in from TFT. After the third place finish last season, they're looking for a redemption arc in season 3 here, taking down Ventus, who many are considered to be a top team or top contender of the league. That just puts so much focus on you. Actually, you're bringing all the attention to yourself and you're boosting yourself up, and hopefully you can ride this momentum into game 2. But honestly, I would like to see Ventus strike back and bring us to a competitive 3-game series, because this was just an absolute stomp.
Yeah, absolutely. But I would expect Ventus to play completely differently in game 2. So this was game 1. Ventus kind of threw the game instantly down bot lane with that misplayed turret dive, and then going way too aggressive yet again. But at the same time, for quite a long bit, they did it well, and they were playing slowly. And then it came to these fights that were kind of forced over and over again by TFT. Phil got caught twice, I believe. Godbro got caught twice, and this just snowballed the TFT. We need to see a much more careful, planned Ventus Esports in game 2.
For sure. It all did start with the bot lane, and it just caused this massive ripple effect that flew and just weaved through the entire rest of the match. There was never really any hope for Ventus to respond there. I mean, as good and as a solid of a lineup that they've got for themselves, it's unlikely. It's a little bit much to ask for any team to have anything to say in that situation. But yes. And there we have it, lads. Game number 1 of this best of 3 is over, and we'll be back in just a bit with game number 2 between Ventus Esports and TFT. Stay tuned.